I'm like, well, oh my gosh, but he's okay, right? Everything's fine. And she just said, no, he didn't make it. That was the moment for me when I suddenly realized, okay, this is it. This is all you get. I actually didn't know I was burned out at the time. I didn't really have the language for it or the words for it. I just thought,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm having a nervous breakdown at 35.
It's just part of the refined unlearning that we owe to ourselves in this phase of life of like, oh yeah, I swallowed the whole thing, the story about productivity and salvation. The truth is that joy is a moral obligation. It's an inside job. Nobody's ever going to do it for us.
It was a really big energetic shift for me to be like, what do I want my life to look like, to feel like? How do I want to feel every day when I wake up? What kind of freedom do I want to have?
You're listening to Solving for Joy. I'm your host, Dr. Chrissy Ott, a multi-boarded integrative physician and professional certified life and career coach. This podcast is about joy, what it means, how we find it, and the creative ways people are solving for it in their own lives. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome to today's episode of the Solving for Joy podcast. I get to introduce you to one of my newest, sweetest friends, Dr. Zarya Rubin. Zarya is trained as a neurologist who is no longer practicing that particular thing, and a functional medicine physician, as well as a physician coach. And if you were lucky enough to be at the Physician Coaching Summit this year, you already know what kind of joy and presence Zarya brings. She has radiant, grounding energy, a ton of passions, and we are going to get into a little bit of solving for joy with Zarya today. The talk that she gave at the summit was actually about the crossroads or the intersection of perimenopause, perfectionism, and PTSD. So Zarya is a burnout expert. She has her own podcast, and I will let you say some more about that, Zarya. But welcome to Solving for Joy. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. It's such a pleasure to be here, and being at the PCS experience was absolutely, I will say it, I get teased a lot for using this word too much, but it was life-changing.
Yay. Yay for that. So glad that you were there.
Yeah.
So we like to start off frequently exploring how joy is showing up in your life these days. And I have a pretty big feeling about one of the things we're about to mention. So go ahead. Tell us about joy in your life
Well,
today, Zarya.
yes, so I have a lot of joy in my life right now. The new love of my life is my tiny ragdoll blue point kitten named Mochi Donut. And we just got him a few weeks ago. And honestly, this kitten is pretty miraculous and magical in that he hasn't really disrupted our lives in a negative way. He sleeps all night, he goes in the litter box, he doesn't cause trouble with the dog. He's just like a bundle of dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin. And I mean, he
Yes.
really is kind of the cutest thing in the world. And I mean, I'm biased, but you've met him. And you can also attest to the fact that he is probably an illegally cute kitten. That nothing on this planet Earth should be that cute.
Yeah, the cuteness level is extreme.
And so it's just brought me a lot of joy, my 12-year-old daughter a lot of joy, even my grumpy husband a lot of joy. One of my passions is singing. So I sing in a local choir in the Portland Symphonic Choir, and we're gearing up for our big Christmas concert this week. And I also conduct a children's choir, and we're also getting ready for our little performance. So that's amazing to be able to kind of share one of those passions with the next generation. And my kiddo actually reluctantly joined the choir, and she really loves it. So that makes my mama heart very happy. And I'm also part of a group that we're organizing a the Sound of Democracy protest that's going to involve peaceful singing, etc., right here in Portland. So those are the things that are bringing me joy right now.
I rejoice in all of those. I mean, baby animals really are medicinal. And I have to say, this is a ragdoll cat. And what I now know, what I didn't know before, is one, that the softness is unbelievable. And when you transfer this cat, it's like pouring a cat into someone else's hand. Like he's so passive and so sweet. It's really,
Yeah,
really adorable.
it's kind of remarkable because cats are often very kind of muscular, sinewy, slightly agitated, and on high alert. And he just relaxes. He lets you cuddle him. He purrs, purrs, purrs. It's it's kind of like the unconditional love that you've always wanted from a cat but can never have. So that aspect
It's
is
kind of is it actually a hypotonic state, neurologist friend? Do we have
I
hypotonia?
mean,
Like, but not with like without dysfunction.
seriously, yes. I often question that myself. I'm like, is this cat hypotonic? But then he will, leap and bound, and he can. I sort of joke that he's half cat, half capuchin monkey because he will like just scale walls and curtains and things, and have his little tiny face like, hmm? You think I'm a cat? I am not. I am part gecko.
Oh my gosh,
So
so
yeah, he's
fun.
he's just a love bug. So I feel like I should be offering like cat healing ceremony sessions at my house. Come over, pet the cat. All your problems
You
will
did.
magically dissipate.
We randomly ended up at your house a little over a week ago to say, we'd
Yes,
like some cat
yes,
time, please. Okay, and
yes.
singing. What an amazing source
Yeah.
of joy is singing. Let's talk about that for a moment. I mean, when we open up our throat chakra and like actually let music exist from our bodies, there is so much beauty and healing in that. And the act of singing with other humans is it is really a high frequency act.
Yeah, so I started singing at a very young age, probably when I was about 5 years old in school. And I went to a performing arts school back in Montreal, Canada. And so singing for me was always kind of like math or English. Like
Hmm.
it was another class. It was part of my daily routine, but it was something more than that. And we had a very strict conductor who had come over from Wales. So he was like this strict Welsh choir master, but he really instilled in us a lot of dedication, commitment, excellence. And we worked together really hard, and we were able to, you know, tour all over North America, Europe, make albums, sing with a symphony. We got to go to Carnegie Hall when I was 15. It was like a pretty peak experience for a young girl developing and finding confidence, etc. And I didn't even know about all of the scientific and neurological, medical benefits of singing in terms of, you know, vagal tone, activating the vagus nerve, the synchronicity of being in a group and having that heart rate regulation, the fact that it can help prevent Alzheimer's, depression, all of these
Mm.
things. I mean, I just loved it. So I didn't realize until later in life that, oh wow, singing's actually really, really good for you. And so I encourage everyone to sing. I sort of believe that everyone can sing. There's like this African proverb of, if you can talk, you can sing. If you can walk, you can dance. And
Hmm.
I fully believe that. People are like, oh no, I can't sing, I can't sing. And with very few exceptions, there are some people who are, tone deaf, and that's difficult. But most people can sing, and it's such a joyful thing. And so I do encourage everyone to try it.
I love that. I often, I hear people say I can't sing all the time, and I recognize it
Yeah.
as a thought that I clung to, since sometime in the preteen era. But at some point, actually, I think it was around my 40th birthday, I decided to start having birthday parties at Voice Box Karaoke, which is a private karaoke room. So important to me that you have four walls around you and your friends. So you're not just mixing with general public. I'm not trying to compete with
Yes.
folks who take karaoke seriously. I am here for catharsis and entertainment with my friends, right? So around 40, and for many of the years between there and here, I have hosted a karaoke birthday party or a karaoke holiday party because it is such a release. It is such a fun release where we get to like go and be our silly on stage selves. If you're even if you're inhibited or like introverted, people find that it's fun to like hold onto one of the microphones and stay seated and like join in one of those well-known pop songs, you know.
Well, I find it very interesting to see like who like what people choose for karaoke songs is often hilarious. Like it's often very
Mhm.
incongruous with who they are and you think, "Oh my god." I mean, my husband likes to perform Mustang Sally, so go figure. I mean, he's quite a serious, surgeon and but he crushes, he kills and
Oh my
I like
gosh.
to do a lot of 80s stuff and whatnot, and of course musicals. And I yeah
Oh my gosh. I loved karaoke Hamilton. I loved karaoke
okay.
Hamilton.
So
I will
yeah,
meet
so
you there anytime.
he won the golden microscope. Like I guess they have this golden laparoscope award or whatever, and he's just a minimally invasive gynecologic surgeon. But at one of their annual meetings, he rapped. He did the whole opening, like the rap song of Hamilton,
Oh my
My
gosh.
Shot, and he won the top prize for karaoke.
I feel like we
And
have a date in our future
I think we
soon.
need to make this happen. This holiday karaoke. I'm in. I've got Wicked on the brain and I'm ready to defy gravity. I can do it.
I love that this is taking its little meandering pathway about joy through the world of singing and karaoke because it just makes so much sense. And it would be an incomplete conversation also not to just mention what role tango played in saving yourself from
Mm.
a burnout episode.
Ah, that's such an interesting story. So, my burnout story in terms of leaving medicine, I was finishing my neurology fellowship in academic medicine at Columbia in New York City. I was, in theory, at the peak of my career and performance and success. And, I had all the trappings of success. And so, in theory, I should have been very happy and very fulfilled, but I really wasn't. And I sort of dreamed about leaving medicine every day, but I thought it wasn't possible. I didn't think there was a way to do it because I mean, who does that? Who walks away from all of that investment, all of the time, the financial investment, the education, the identity piece and the life path that like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I've been doing for, 15 years of my life. It starts really young and I just couldn't see a way around it or a way out of it. Unfortunately, it took a really significant personal tragedy to snap me
Hmm.
out and wake me up from my kind of stupor of must keep going, must do this no matter what. And it allowed me that space to think, okay, maybe there is another way. Maybe I don't have to keep doing this. Maybe I can find a way and walk away. And during that time, I was really kind of at a crossroads and I wasn't singing when I was deep in medicine because it was too difficult to make that commitment to regular rehearsals and performances when you have to be on call all the time and you don't have control of your own schedule. So that was really difficult for me to not be singing and performing. But something just said to me, you know what? Maybe you should try tango dancing. totally random, never tried it before. I had been a bit of a dancer and I had lived in Guatemala and, learned salsa and merengue and all those dances, but tango was a whole other thing. And so I was living in New York City and there's a very big tango community there. And I started going to classes in Central Park and really fell in love with it and ended up getting deeper into it. It really kind of fell down a rabbit hole. Eventually ended up going to Argentina to study tango briefly, which was a whole other story. But it really kind of was a spiritual, emotional awakening because tango is an extremely intense, passionate experience, musical, artistic, all the things. And it was all the things that had been completely shut down for me and turned off in medicine. I was pretty much flatlined, dead
Mm.
inside in terms of emotion and that, emotional world and experience and ability to express things. So tango really kind of unlocked that for me. And I think it was really part of my journey out of medicine, recovering from burnout. I actually didn't know I was burned out at the time. I didn't
Mm.
really have the language for it or the words for it. I just thought,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm having a
Yeah.
nervous breakdown at 35.
So many people don't have the words for it. They just know that they don't feel like they wanted to feel when they started off on this journey. And, I recently read Nobody's Girl, Virginia Giuffre's memoir. And there's a particular few phrases that really stuck with me outside of the arc of the actual story of horrific acts. But it was the compliant body and the locked away mind. And she, of course, was talking about, being groomed and sexually abused as a young person and young adult as well. But in medicine, we also have a compliant body and a locked away mind when we continually submit to the processes of the systems that can be so harmful and draining. And what I love about the conversation around tango is that sometimes the compliant body is the place to start the intervention. That a body doing tango is not in compliance with the system, right? So sometimes just making space in the life with the body doing tango, not being the compliant body, can loosen patterns enough that the mind too can begin to not be so locked away, and creative solutions, and in fact joyful solutions, things that have meaning, alignment, and delight, can begin to arise and beckon us back to wholeness and an integrated version of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. And there's also something magical about dance. And I know you have a long history with dance, of sometimes your body is just following the steps and the movements. And especially if you are a partner that is a follower in tango, so there's leaders and followers. And traditionally the men are the leaders and women are followers, but there's a lot of mixing these days. So I was trained as a follower, but that went against every aspect of my personality. And
You
when I
don't
was first,
say.
shocker, when I was first learning, I had, partners would just kind of look at me and say, maybe like, stop leading. And there's even a term for it, like back leading. It's kind of like backseat driving or whatever, where you're trying to take over. And so the act of surrendering and allowing someone else to lead you, so difficult for me, but
Mhm.
also very healing in many ways, to not have to think of every single move, literally and figuratively.
Mhm. So how did you know? What was the moment that it became clear to you that this is not what you're going to keep doing?
Mm. So it was a bit of a lightning bolt. Like I said, it had been building up for a long time. I mean, I was truly miserable in medicine. And I had read House of God in my residency. And I think if I had read House of God earlier, it's the really famous Samuel Shem novel that really takes a dark, cynical view of medicine and his training at Mass General I think in the 1970s. If I had read that book sooner, I don't know that I would have persisted or continued. But there were red flags for me from the beginning. You know, for instance, first week of medical school, I'm dissecting the cadaver. Everyone else is dissecting the cadaver. I'm just sobbing. And the professor kind of pulls me aside after class and was like, "Are you okay? You must have had a recent death in the family." And I said, "Nope." This is just how I'm made. Like extremely sensitive, extremely empathic, almost to a fault. And she just looked at me and said, "You might want to consider an alternate career path." And my jaw dropped and I was so angry. Like, are you kidding me? I have worked so hard to get to this point, and you're telling me I should do something else? I thought that I was going to be a great doctor because I care so much and all I want to do is care and help people. But I quickly found out that that was kind of almost more of a liability than an asset. And that was tied up in a lot of other complicated things, a lot of personal medical trauma and history that allowed me to be probably overly empathic and rather than compassionate at a distance when I was in my
Mm.
medical training. And it just took a massive toll on me. So the early warning signs were there. And then when I got into my clinical clerkship, I was kind of fainting a lot in clinic and having massive panic attacks. And that was just brushed off as like, well, you just have to kind of learn to deal with it and toughen up, soldier. And so I did. I did. I just pushed through it. But those alarm bells were going off, and my body was basically saying, "This is not for you. This is not for you." But I didn't listen. I'm very persistent, very determined, and resilient. So I kept going, kept going, kept going. And then I'm in residency and fellowship, and I'm so exhausted and just working insane hours and quite frankly, drinking a lot. I mean, so were all of my friends. I mean, every weekend we would go
Mhm.
out and get wasted. And I can't imagine that that was the right thing to do. But that was the culture. And we were very
Mhm.
just so stressed out and so alienated from
Yeah.
well, I wanted to be so alienated from my life because it was taking such a toll on me. So that was the only thing I could do to sort of numb the pain. And luckily it didn't really become a problem, and now I don't even drink, but it was definitely a problem in residency. And then in fellowship, I just kept thinking that at each stage it would get better or get easier, because that's what people tell you. Well, oh, you just have to get through X and then Y will get better, and then, well, you just have to get through Y and then Z will get better. But that wasn't the case. So getting through medical school and then residency, and then I'm in fellowship and it's just getting worse rather than better. That was another massive red flag for me. But it really kind of was an wake up call, an aha moment when I got a phone call late one night from my best friend from medical school. And she was calling to tell me that her husband at the time had been playing frisbee, had collapsed on the field. They rushed him to the hospital, attempted to resuscitate him. And I'm sort of freaking out at this point, but I'm like, well, oh my gosh, but he's okay, right? Everything's fine. And she just said, no, he didn't make it. And that was the moment for me when I suddenly realized, like, okay, this is it. This is all you get. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the performance.
Mm.
And I better be happy with my life, because it's not like I can keep living my life on some sort of layaway plan, thinking and hoping that one day I'll be happy when I'm only getting more and more miserable. So that truly planted the seed of, I think I have to quit. I don't know how. Then couple weeks later, tango dancing. Then a couple months later, went to Argentina. So that was in November. By December, January, I had decided to leave, and by March, I had left and told my program director that I was at the very end of my fellowship, and I just said I can't do it anymore. And luckily, he was a very compassionate guy and was very understanding. Yeah, sort of jumped off a cliff without a parachute, and no regrets. No regrets. A little bit of regret that it took me so long.
Yeah. It's a bold move and it's very counterculture in medicine. And, our theme at PCS, of course, was having your own back and, standing up
Yeah.
to culture with such a opposing position for your own, you know, sanity, salvation, safety really is, it's a
All
powerful
of those things,
move.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally every morning, I would stand on the subway platform and the train would come, and I would ask myself, should I get on it or jump in front of it? And I would like make this little
Mhm.
joke with myself, which was very much not funny,
Mm.
given the high rates of physician suicide. And I knew that I didn't want to be a statistic and that I had so much to live for. I just couldn't keep living my life in that way. It wasn't that I didn't want to live, it was that I did
Yeah.
not want to live in that way. So, yeah, it was pretty dramatic.
Now you are still helping, you're still a resource to people. How did physician coaching and coaching for burnout enter your life?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I was sort of at a crossroads after I had left industry. So after I left medicine, I ended up working in at a tech startup and then worked in industry for a number of years. Uh, Pay back my debts, etc. And,
Mhm.
I explored the world of big pharma and being an executive and realized that really wasn't for me either. There was a reason why I went into medicine and not business. So that was a whole other adventure. And then I had a baby very late in life, in my 40s, and really decided to lean into that role. I had never expected to be a stay at home mom, but I was. And while on the one hand, I absolutely loved it and would definitely choose that again and choose my daughter over anything, I was getting restless and bored, and I had felt like I had all this, knowledge and experience and brain power and wanted to use it for good
Mhm. Mhm.
and beyond just my one kiddo. And I started trying to craft a life for myself. Like in the past, I had always been asking myself the question, what kind of job do you want? What kind of career do you want? And that now I shifted that question and started asking myself, what kind of life do you want? It was a really big energetic shift for me to be like, what do I want my life to look like, to feel like? How do I want to feel every day when I wake up? What kind of freedom do I want to have? Do I still want to be there for my kid? Be take her to school, pick her up from school, be there for all the events. And she has a lot of challenges, mental challenges, physical challenges, medical challenges. So there's a lot that goes into that parenting role, and I couldn't really outsource it. So I thought, well, what could I do that would still be helping people, that would allow me a lot of flexibility in my life? And it just kept coming up again and again. People said, what about coaching? What about health coaching? And I was like, health coaching. Oh, that's like woo for people who aren't doctors, and I don't know. And but I gave it a chance, and it just because the universe just kept putting it in my path over and over again. So I went back to school and trained as a health coach at IIN, at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And it was amazing training, and I loved it. And I learned so much that we did not learn in medical school, but I wish we learned in medical school, because I think we had like an hour of nutrition in medical school, and this was a year of it. So it was really eye opening and enlightening. And I did coach on that for a while, a couple of years, and realized, okay, this is great, but I want to do more than just tell people to drink lots of water and eat greens and, you know, get 8 hours of sleep. And so, of course, I decided to go back to school again, and then did a 3-year training program at the School of Applied Functional Medicine in functional medicine, because I felt like that was kind of the next logical step to take the health coaching one step further and really go deep into root cause medicine and puzzle piecing and figuring out like, who is this individual person? What are their circumstances? What's their history? What's their life like? What are their stressors? What's their diet? Like all the things, and put that together to create kind of a solution and a preventative path towards healing some of the patterns that we see on the way to disease. We call it dis-ease in functional medicine, of like, you don't quite meet the lab values and diagnostic criteria, but you're on your way there. And why not close that barn door before the horse
Mhm.
is out? And patients will often come to you and tell you, they're like, I'm having this and this and this symptom, these vague, like very vague symptoms. And in conventional medicine, we're trained like, I don't know. If it doesn't meet threshold, if your labs are normal and your symptoms are vague, like,
Yeah.
I can't really help you. And so I wanted to help those people. And a lot of the people who were having a lot of chronic stress issues and burnout issues. And I felt like that was an underserved area, because that's sort of deemed the realm of mental health. And for me, after everything that I went through with all of that trauma and burnout, and then being diagnosed late in life with complex PTSD, I also ended up with autoimmune disease. And I know that it's not unrelated. And
Mm.
so I wanted to address some of that and some of those dynamics. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
that was
I
that
mean,
was
I
a
don't
that was a
remember what
long
the
path.
question
Yeah,
I don't
you're
remember
like,
the
how did you get
question,
into
but that was
coaching?
awesome.
Like, how did you get into coaching? I'm like, well,
Yeah, I'm so glad that you did all of those different trainings, because I know that they weave together and make what you have to offer in the world more powerful. I really would love to have you share a little bit of the wisdom that you shared at the summit, where we were talking about PTSD, midlife, perimenopause, and patterns of perfectionism, and how
yeah.
this like trifecta can be so hard to resist and pull out of.
Yeah. So yeah, happy to share about that, because it's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And I actually, of course, I'm going to go back and get even more training specific to menopause and perimenopause care. So because I can never get enough school. But I
Yeah.
just was noticing in my own life, being a perimenopausal woman, truth be told, and in all of my friends and a lot of my patients, like I just kept seeing these patterns of these very capable women, these high achieving, brilliant, probably pretty type A perfectionist women. Like they're either physicians or they're lawyers or they're professionals in some way, or they just work really, really hard, that they were hitting midlife and the wheels were kind of coming off. And before they could sort of do all the things, keep all the balls in the air, spin all the plates, juggle all the things, and somewhat sustain this unsustainable life of not getting enough sleep, maybe eating like crap a bit, maybe drinking too much wine, um, parenting, working, doing all of these things. And then you hit midlife, and all of a sudden, it all starts to unravel. As Brene Brown calls it, the great midlife unraveling. I call it a bit of a reckoning, but I spell it WRECK. Okay. So it's a midlife reckoning, but you can get out of it without being totally wrecked. But so what happens? So then I just decided to dive a little bit more into the physiology of stress and the HPA axis. So, like the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which basically is this like feedback loop that helps us navigate and mitigate stress. And when it's working well, it's like, ooh, stressful event, hormones get released, stimuli, reaction, amygdala, adrenals, cortisol. Okay. And then feedback, let's shut it down. All good. Well, in perimenopause, what happens is the system starts to kind of go off the rails and fail a bit, because you have all of these hormonal fluctuations. So you have estrogen, which normally acts as a beautiful buffer for this system, keeping the system in check, keeping everything flowing well, keeping cortisol at bay. Then when estrogen starts to tank, that's no longer there. So what you get is you get a system that is more hair trigger sensitive. So smaller stressors evoke a bigger response. And then you don't have as much dampening effect and as much negative feedback loop. So that stress response remains activated. So your
Mm.
cortisol levels stay up. And so smaller things cause stress more easily with a bigger reaction and for longer. So
Mm.
that's kind of a recipe for burnout right there in and of itself. Then, if you add the sleep deprivation that happens with burnout and with perimenopause, that's another kind of strike. It's like we're getting to three strikes and you're out here.
Yeah.
Then, like you mentioned, if you are someone who has perfectionistic tendencies, or a history of childhood trauma. And I kind of think they go together because perfectionism taken to an extreme really is a trauma response. It is a
Yeah.
response of constant hypervigilance and safety and control and navigating and mitigating and saying, if I can just do everything correctly, then nothing bad will happen to me. And
Mhm.
I'll be safe and people will like me. And, I can keep the wolves at bay. So that's kind of perfectionism and trauma. Trauma creates this hypervigilance response that's there all the time, and so your baseline cortisol levels and your baseline HPA axis activation is heightened in people with a history of chronic trauma. So you're already at a much higher baseline level. Then you add perimenopause, perfect storm. So I like to say that,
Mhm.
perimenopause doesn't necessarily cause burnout, but it sure does unmask it.
Yeah.
Okay, there. Did I do it? Did I
Wow. That's a lot. Yeah, it's like an
It's
accelerant.
it's a lot. Yeah, it's kind of like pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yeah. Yes. And that is so much
Yeah.
to think about together. And I love I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever put them right next to each other in the way that you just did and did in your talk at the summit. And it just makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. It's so validating. I hope that it's helpful and, sanity bringing for women out there who are like, oh, that that
Yeah.
tracks. Of course I'm not feeling my best.
There's so many the hormonal kind of dance. So there's this delicate dance that's between, you've got estrogen, you've got dopamine, you've got serotonin, you've got oxytocin, then you've got progesterone, and you have GABA. And then, so once your progesterone starts to tank, then your GABA is no longer working for you. And that's kind of your like chill hormone. So your sleep is going to be crappy and your anxiety is going to ratchet up. And when you're anxious, everything becomes more stressful and you can't function. And then you've got a million things going and you've got your to do list and it starts to feel overwhelming that you can't
Yeah.
cope with it. And a lot of it is real. I mean, the demands in midlife are also the
Yeah.
reality of midlife, of, being the sandwich generation and balancing kids and balancing
Mhm.
aging parents and maybe being at a quite high level in your career. And like
Mhm.
all of these things. So it all does intersect into this like insane Venn diagram. And at the center is this poor, you know, amazing woman who is trying to hold all the threads together as they're being pulled apart while she's on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a Venn diagram with this very small pinpoint at the center, and then the bottom drops out.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are things to help. So, yeah, what are the steps that we once we
Oh
identify
gosh.
these converging patterns? Like, I mean, obviously, talking to a skilled clinician about
Yes,
HRT, if
yes.
that's part of your
Well, I think you have to
response.
like really first just kind of like allow yourself that permission and that moment to recognize like, okay, something is going on here. this is not okay. This is not sustainable. I can't keep doing this. So I often use the analogy of the check engine light. So you're driving your
Mm.
car, you've got this check engine light, and it goes on, and maybe it just flashes on for a moment, and you think, oh, that was weird. It's probably nothing. Keep driving. And then it comes on again, and maybe this time it stays on for a little bit longer. And you might still ignore it and say, okay, well, it went off, so it's fine. And
Who's done
then
that
maybe
before? Me.
not guilty. Yes, totally guilty. And then, maybe it comes on again and it stays on. And now it's on and it's bright and it's not flashing anymore. It's solid, it's staying there. And maybe it starts to drive you crazy. So you take some duct tape and you tape over it. And I think that is what women, very high achieving, intelligent, high performing women, perfectionists, type A, are doing in perimenopause and burnout. They are putting duct tape over the red alert light and
Yeah.
signs in their life.
Yeah.
And so, step one is you've got to like open your eyes and say, okay, this is not okay. And have permission to take a step back and seek help. Now, obviously, you mentioned seeing a practitioner who is familiar with and well versed in women's health and hormone replacement. And absolutely, and don't see if you see someone and they say, they maybe they run labs, single point labs, and they say your labs are fine, or they say you still get periods. Bye, go see somebody else, right? Because
Yes.
that's not an
That's so
answer.
important. Hmm.
Because your labs can fluctuate day to day, week to week, month to month. It's all over the place in perimenopause. So it's not an accurate representation, potentially. It's an accurate representation of that one moment in time, that pinpoint moment in time, but it's not going to necessarily reflect what's going on every other day. And of course, you can be put on HRT when you are still getting periods. It has to do with the fluctuations and with the hormone levels and with the symptoms and your medical history, et cetera, et cetera. It's a complex thing, but it's not that complicated. Like it's very doable and accessible. You just have to, see the right people. So, that's kind of the gold standard, I would say. But there are so many other things you can do as well. I mean, the basics. You got to go back to the basics, and they're not sexy. Like sleep. Okay? We all think that we can get by on a lot less sleep than we get, like, oh, I only need 6 hours, or oh, I don't need that much sleep, because you're functioning, but at what level and at what cost, right? So I think we all have some sort of massive sleep debt. I don't know the actual numbers, but if you add it up, it's ridiculous how much sleep debt we all have. And so, that's not sexy, but getting the right amount of sleep is foundational. And when I work with people, if they're not sleeping, I throw everything else out and I say, well, we got to get you sleeping first.
Mm.
And if that means figuring something out in terms of supplements, I love my magnesium, and I take these sleep gummies that don't have melatonin in them. And I'm a huge fan. They've got like GABA and passion flower, and I think they're called like wonder gummies for sleep, some mushrooms and stuff. I know you love the mushrooms. They are fantastic. And so you don't necessarily have to have a prescription sleeping pill. I'm not really a fan of those, or even a lot of
Mm-mm.
melatonin, because I think that melatonin can be great in small amounts, but and certainly it's overprescribed and it's overdosed. People are taking 10
Mhm.
milligrams of melatonin a night, which is crazy. You should start with like zero point 0.5. And then other basics, drinking enough water. We don't drink enough water. I'm drinking coffee right now. Drink enough water. Make sure that you're fueling your body with things that are serving you and not sabotaging you, like tons of highly processed food, lots of additives and preservatives, lots of fried food, lots of unhealthy stuff. Alcohol. That was something that I really had to cut out in perimenopause because it wasn't serving me. My sleep was terrible. I'd wake up with a hangover after one glass of wine, and I was like, "Oh, this is not worth it." Yeah, because it's has to do with the estrogen levels and your metabolism and your liver and your ability to detoxify. All of that
Mhm.
shifts. And
Mhm.
and all of the tannins and the histamines, and It goes on and on. It's very complicated, but the simple solution for me was, stop drinking alcohol. And, just making sure you get out there, get some fresh air, get some vitamin D, go for a walk in nature. You don't have to go to the gym and do hardcore cardio, which is only going to raise your cortisol levels further. It's only going to deplete your adrenals. It's only going to exacerbate burnout. But that's what a lot of women do. They're like, oh, I need to go to the gym and go hard to get all the stress out. But that in the end, that's actually not going to serve you. It's going to sabotage you. So finding
Mm,
more gentler ways to exercise, yoga, walking, swimming, lifting weights, those things are all really important. And, you know, then of course, like community, finding your people, finding other women who are going through what you're going through, because there's a lot of us out there, and creating that community and that sisterhood and that, those bonds and that connection. It can really make you feel less crazy, less alone, less, like you're having to manage it all by yourself. And yeah, so that's why I actually am creating a community for women with burnout and perimenopause. It's not quite launched yet, but it's something that I am hopefully going to launch in the new
mm.
year.
Stay tuned. Watch this
Stay tuned.
space.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that is really wonderful and exciting in a place that you can, have a, a great positive impact on so many people who need information and community.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it just wasn't there. I was like, where is this? Where was the help when I needed it? It wasn't there. Like nobody was talking about this. At least now a lot of people are talking about it. People are talking about
Yeah.
burnout. People are talking about perimenopause. So it's hot. It's trendy now. We're
Yes.
we're cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We Gen Xers have made menopause trend.
Yes. We're at the vanguard. We're always the trendsetters.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, in especially for people in midlife who are facing this, trifecta, this powerful Venn diagram of life demands, multi generational life demands, career demands, and personal physical changes all at the same time. It's so
It's
important.
a big deal. I mean, I think the number one demographic of women physician burnout was age 45 to 54 in the Mayo Clinic proceeding study. That is, and in other studies that look at other professionals that aren't in medicine, like perimenopause is the age when women start to burn out and they leave their jobs, they leave their careers because there's no accommodations, there's no
Yeah.
provisions for that.
And they're just trying to find joy. They're trying to survive and they're trying to
Yes,
find joy. And
yes.
sometimes leaving is the pathway to finding joy, but also sometimes it's about finding your
No.
community and, the clinical resources that you need.
And finding something outside of, your job or your family, something that is just for you, something that you love, whether it's like knitting or watercolor or I don't know, kayaking or something, whether it
Yeah.
or cats, I don't, something that singing in a choir that makes you happy, that doesn't serve a purpose other
Hmm.
than to make you happy. That's
Yes.
the principle
Yes.
that Eve Rodsky talks about in the Find Your Unicorn Space. It's a
Mm.
fabulous book, and it just talks about that concept that traditionally men are very good at carving out time for their own pursuits, and women are not. We feel
Yeah.
guilty when we have downtime. We are cleaning the house. We're looking after the kids. We feel obligated to be busy and to be productive and to be doing
Hmm.
something of value. Otherwise, it doesn't count. We don't count. We don't deserve either rest. And I think reclaiming rest as radical resistance, we got to do that. And then reclaiming your time to do something that doesn't have any impact on the world, on your family, financially, your job. It's just for your own joy. And
Yeah.
that's very impactful. We got to remember to do
That
that and
is
find that time.
that is medicine that I dispense regularly to my coaching clients. And it is, again, very countercultural. It is antithetical to the Protestant work ethic. And it's just part of the refined unlearning that we owe to ourselves, in this phase of life of like, oh yeah, I swallowed the whole thing, the story about productivity and salvation. And the truth is that joy is a moral obligation and it's an inside job, and nobody's ever going to do it for us. And delight is an incredibly important part of that equation.
And it's contagious. So if you can spread joy to others, that's an amazing gift as well. And I mean, yes, we check for all sorts of labs and different levels and vitamin levels. And in functional medicine, we also check for vitamin J, which is joy.
I love that. What a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Zarya Rubin. For people
Such
who
a
are
pleasure.
curious about connecting and following you, we can tell them that you have a TEDx talk. We can tell
Yes.
them about your wonderful podcast, Outsmart Burnout. Where would you like them to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can head over to my website, which is just drzarya.com. And they can also find me on Instagram at Dr. Zarya Rubin. And yeah, just connect. Send me a note, follow me, send me a DM or an email. I respond to all of those things personally.
What a pleasure. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you. It was awesome.
For those of you listening, if something in today's conversation resonated, if you found yourself recognizing your own exhaustion or feeling seen in a new way, I want you to know you're not alone and you don't have to navigate this season in isolation. If you are a physician coach looking for community, mentorship, and a place to ground your coaching practice in joy and sustainability, I'd love to invite you to the Physician Coaching Collective. It's our professional home, a space where we come together 3 times a month for coaching mastery, business strategy that actually feels aligned, and community that tells the truth with a lot of heart and laughter. Our December calls are coming up this Wednesday, December 3rd, Business Coaching with Vanessa Calderon. Thursday, December 11th at 5 p.m. Eastern, End of Year Accounting, the Self-Concept Edition, led by yours truly, and Monday, December 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern, the Energetic Quality of Our Emotions, a tool for coaching with Shida Shafi. If you can't join us live, every session is recorded and available on playback in a private podcast, so you can catch up when it works for you. And for those of you craving something deeper in the year ahead, I'm super excited to announce today that I am offering Roar 2.0. Applications are now open. It's my small curated year-long container for clinicians and practitioners who are ready to reclaim their brains, own their power, access their joy, and raise their voices and vibrations. It's a different kind of work than PCC. PCC is community and professional space, while Roar is deeper identity level work that shifts how we move through life. They complement each other beautifully, and you'll know which one is meant for you. There's a live call about Roar tonight, December 2nd at 5 p.m. Pacific. So feel free to register, learn more, feel the vibe, and ask any questions that might come up. And if you can't be there, just reach out. I'm happy to make sure you get a recording of it. As always, if this episode and Zarya's story speaks to you, it would mean so much for you to leave a quick rating or review. And as always, I'm a doctor, but not your doctor. Please do not let any of this substitute for actual medical or professional advice. Thank you, as always, to Kelsey, who brings the podcast to life with so much creativity and heart, to the small dog that I'm holding right now, and to my precious wife, Sue. And to you, dear listener, may you offer yourself the grace you so generously offer others. May you listen to your body with tenderness, and may you find small, steady moments of joy, even in the middle of the mess. I'll see you next time on Solving for Joy.